I call on Government Order of the Day, numbers 1 and 2.
Interrupted debate on the first readings of the Riccarton Racecourse Development Enabling Bill and the Riccarton Racecourse Bill.
Does any member wish to take a call? Eugenie Sage.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Pleased to take a short call on the Riccarton Racecourse and Riccarton Racecourse Development Enabling Bill. The Green Party is supporting both these bills at the first reading because the law changes that they will make will result in additional and much needed housing in Christchurch and a component of affordable housing. But we are disappointed that such a large area of green space in Christchurch is being sacrificed. Mr Speaker, next week, of course, is Cup Day, a high point in the racing calendar in Canterbury, and it's certainly the majestic surrounds of the Riccarton Racecourse with the big trees, the expansive open space there that adds to a lot of the enjoyment of that day. And there's been increasing concern about nature deficit in children and the loss of access to wild nature and green areas where children can play. And the loss of a quarter of the racecourse, some 38 hectares, which has been set aside as a reserve quite a while ago, back in 1878, for the racecourse, but which is now used for a variety of purposes. The Riccarton Market, of course, is at the racecourse. Some of the area that's proposed for subdivision has been made available by the Racecourse Trust Board for community events. There was a big, very successful fracking-free festival and concert held there. And it is this green space that is being lost through this bill.
Order.
Because the bill revokes the reserve status that was established in 1878 that made the area a racecourse to allow the subdivision and development to occur. And we need green space in our cities because they make them attractive and pleasant places to live. They clean up air quality, they provide significant amenity values, and they often, for neighbouring houses, offer a place for people to go walking, walk their dogs, children to play. So we will be very interested in the development plans for the racecourse and the extent to which the Trust Board and working with Ngāi Tahu Property provide for reserve areas and green space so that it is not just a mass of houses. Because it is in this area is certainly within the city limits, but we've seen a lot of the building that has occurred post-quake to accommodate people who had to move has been of mediocre quality. We haven't seen high standards in urban design. We haven't seen a strong emphasis on medium density housing. We have seen developments which encourage sprawl. You can go down to Rolleston where a lot of people have moved. There are very few solar PV panels on the roofs of new homes there. We are losing an opportunity to promote good urban design, medium density housing which is close to public transport links, which has good links to cycleways, which is sustainable in terms of reducing energy costs for the owners and households that take over those homes. So we want to see, Mr Speaker, where we are, through this legislation, sacrificing open space and reserve land in Christchurch for housing, that housing development and subdivision is of very high quality. And there is nothing in the bill which sets the standards for that. The one safeguard in the bill is that there is a requirement that the scheme for the development include a significant percentage, at least 30%, targeted at so-called affordable homes. That will be around 180 houses. But affordable here is defined as a threshold for first home buyers to access the KiwiSaver Home Start grant. And that's currently $450,000 in Christchurch. That is within no one's definition of affordable. It would require a major proportion of household income towards a mortgage for a house of that price. Certainly, if the development scheme doesn't proceed, there are penalties in the legislation. but we would like to see both the Trust Board and Ngāi Tahu Property, if it's the joint venture partner, commit to providing homes at a more affordable price than that, as well as ensuring that the subdivision is of very high quality. Because we have seen under this government a major attack on urban trees and on green space in our cities, with the changes to the Resource Management Act, which require any urban tree to be specifically identified and scheduled in plans for it to have any protection and require a resource consent before it can be trimmed or felled. And we're seeing in places like Auckland significant loss of large urban trees. And so here with this bill sacrificing the reserve land for housing, there is the loss of a quarter of the racecourse and the green space that that provides. So, Mr Speaker, we will be supporting it to Select Committee, but we will be very interested in submissions, particularly from the surrounding community, because this bill was promised by the Minister Nick Smith in May. It has taken until now to be introduced. The racecourse has had these proposals for development for some time. We want to be assured that there will be the normal 6-month report back period so that there is adequate opportunity for people to make a submission, because it seems that we're seeing quite a rush of bills in the last part of the year which affect Canterbury residents. We've seen the Environment Canterbury Half-Pie Democracy Bill. We've got another bill being discussed this afternoon about changes to the way in which land title and surveying is done. We want to ensure that there is good opportunity for particularly Riccarton and Upper Riccarton residents to make submissions about what they think the implications will be of this loss of a quarter of the racecourse and its designation, and making it available for housing development which will benefit the racecourse. And I guess to highlight one final point is that the Finance Minister Bill English at the weekend talked about changes to both the Conservation Act and the Reserves Act to enable more housing development in our urban areas. We would view those changes with significant concern, because it is not green space which threatens or impedes housing development. It is the failure of government to actually have promotion of good sustainable planning, good medium density housing, housing that is based around strong public transport connections, good cycleways, so that community facilities and work environments are accessible. We need a promotion of sound urban design, not more urban sprawl, and so we'll be very interested, Mr Speaker, on the submissions on this bill. Thank you.
Dennis O'Rourke.